Hello and welcome everybody. This is Jill Trotterman with Feeding the Family, streaming live from Santa Cruz Voice, santacruzvoice.com. Having a healthy and happy life filled with fun and joy are goals many of us want to achieve. And as we know, to achieve or move more towards that occasion, that experience, that thought, whenever it arrives, it's not just what you eat. It's not just about what you put in your body, but it's also about what you put into your mind and how you feel in your soul. So today we're going to be talking about practical ways to find joy and happiness and feeding our soul, in particular with how community plays into that. In Shakespeare's Merchant of Venice, Portia talks about caring is twice blessed. Caring is twice blessed. It blesses those who give and those who receive. So I have a fabulous guest in the house. I'm really excited to have you here. And today we've got Susan Fraser in the house. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
I'm really excited. So Susan is a peer of mine at Santa Cruz Voice. She's one of our hosts.
I am. I'm so excited to be here and to, I run the Think Local First radio show and love to find out how other people run their shows.
I know. We do like to share each other's shows sometimes. So I'm really excited to have you. And I'm going to read a little bit about your bio so everyone can understand what a fabulous, interesting history you do have. So Susan O'Connor Fraser is a co-founder of TAM Communications. Since 1979, Susan has written and produced literally thousands of programs for broadcast and cable, and for Northern California leading organizations. In commercial production, Susan has been the executive producer, creative director, writer for spots for the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, West Marine, and Granite Rock. Susan worked with her partner TAM to co-develop and executive produced the internationally syndicated television series Coast Guard that ran for 3 seasons on over 100 stations throughout the country. I've got to check that out, Susan. I haven't heard of that. And then from there, she's created and written and produced programs for the Discovery Channel, the Travel Channel, Discovery Health, the Military Channel, and National Geographic Television. And in the non-broadcasting world, Susan has served and earned a reputation for crafting customized media solutions to drive sales, build image, motivate employees, and communicate corporate on product messaging through video and other digital media. And she's received top honors from numerous industry competitions. And Susan has also served on the Mexican Heritage Corporation and the Professional Media Network of the Greater San Jose. This is only going to take another 20 minutes.
Okay.
She has a great, robust history. And then the final thing I wanted to share about Susan, I'm kidding, is that she is the treasurer of Think Local First Santa Cruz. She's a member of the Scotts Valley Economic Recovery Task Force, the Scotts Valley Chamber Board of Directors, and the steering committee for our very own Santa Cruz Voice.
I know, that's wordy. That's because I'm a writer, so I have to have words.
You are. You're an excellent writer, and your history is vast and deep.
Yeah, I'm blessed. I've done a lot of things. My work has given me the opportunity to travel all over the world. And I work with my husband, which is sometimes challenging for people, for couples, is to work with family members and find a way to make it work and not hurt the personal relationship, which of course is most important in my life.
Right, that's true. Whenever we're engaging in any kind of business, the relationships that we have in our work and especially if we're blending our personal life and our work life, that adds extra elements to it. So I just wanted to share also that your website, you say that you love to dance and you love to laugh out loud, and I think that's why I resonate with you, because whenever I see you, you've got this big smile on.
Oh, wow.
And you got such good energy. And so today, Susan, we're going to be talking about joy, and we're talking about community and how people can continue to strive for that lofty goal. Is it lofty or is it not? So with your history of being a community organizer, and Santa Cruz Voice is a very unique organization that you guys have put together, and I'm really blessed to be part of this community that brings me joy, personal joy. So tell me, what drives you?
It is I think for the most part, it really has It started with my parents. My parents were always involved in the community, either, organizing. My mother was part of a garden club. She had a local group of women that would meet at the house. They called it Chat and Chew. So they'd have lunch together and probably gossip about the neighbors or whatever. But she was really critical to that. When my father retired from his job, he became a teacher of people that were trying to learn English or trying to just learn to read even. So from a very early age, I was kind of molded to that part of your life was to get involved and make things happen, to find a need and fill it. And so that's in high school. I mean, it started in high school, and how in organizing all the activities for my senior class. So from the senior banquet to the senior ball to senior cut day, where we would all cut school together, that was an organized thing. And so
Somebody has to plan that.
yeah, somebody has to plan that, so everyone knows. You got to communicate with everybody of what day it is and what you're going to do together. So on our senior cut day, we actually went to UC Berkeley and were. I don't think it was actually planned. It was more, God, what's the word? Serendipitous.
Mm-hmm. I like that word.
That we were on campus when Joan Baez was there. I know.
That's awesome.
And
Wow.
singing, and it was, of course, during the Vietnam War. So there was protests going on all over the place, and I was able to bring my senior class there and experience that.
That's a great organizational story. So you started as a youngster watching your parents do these things that clearly touched your heart. And it seems like you wanted a piece of that.
Yeah, they definitely made an impact on the people in our community, in our small community where we grew up in the East Bay. And so I wanted to have some of that, and it brought them joy. I could see it, how much they enjoyed doing that together. So that may be part of the role model where Tam and I, my husband Tam, and partner in life and business, that we do so many things together. I think my parents were the role model for that as well.
You are, yeah. And now, doing community work, can be a selfless act, right? So there's that give and take that I mentioned in that quote from Shakespeare, that it can be a twice blessing of both receiving and giving.
It is.
And how to balance that, because giving into a community, if you have a vision of something that you want to make happen, and you're the director, you're the captain of the ship.
Yeah, and then when you're not the captain of the ship, you're part of something bigger.
You're part of the ship. You're part of the crew.
Exactly.
Which is all important parts.
God, I guess it was sometime in 2017 or whatever, that I was on part of a group that put together the Families Belong Together march in Santa Cruz. And I was not the captain, but I was part of a group, I think mostly women, that pulled this together in 10 days and had nearly 20,000 people march in Santa Cruz, and then have speakers and music and everything that happened in what was at that time Loudon Community Center, and it's now London Community Center in Santa Cruz. And that was it definitely brought me joy to have that accomplishment of how quickly we brought it together. Everybody kind of knew what their roles were. Mm-hmm. And like the Shakespeare quote, one of the things one of my clients used is this concept of filling your bucket. So while you're filling the bucket of somebody else, there's, I guess, a children's book that talks about it, of filling someone else's bucket. Your bucket is getting filled too. And so I get a lot of joy from my work, mm-hmm. And I of course a lot of joy from my family, and so being able to, the community work that Tam and I have done, or that I have done, is just part of the equation.
Right. And you have a lot of projects going on at any given time.
Yeah.
Because you're doing the Santa Cruz Voice, which we now have like 42 podcasters.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And you fill in, and now you're a guest on my show.
Yeah.
Do you ever leave here?
Well, I'm actually
You're like the teacher at school. Like you're always here.
it seems like that. I do leave. But fortunately with our move into Scotts Valley for Santa Cruz Voice, I'm very close. So when I was filling in over the last 8 days or whatever it was for Bill on Good Morning Monterey Bay, because he was out and not well, and I'm so thankful he's back. I could leave my house at 4:55 in the morning and get here at 5:00.
Wow. Okay. So you're right around the corner.
Yes.
Oh, that's so good. But you have a lot of projects. And I think when I met you, you interviewed me years ago.
Yeah. Yes.
And you're like, come on to the radio show. And I was like, I thought you were joking.
And it took a while, but you finally came on and became one of our hosts.
I know. And I absolutely love this. And so talking about community, there's a difference between happiness and joy. And what the people might say about joy, because you brought up the word joy a few times.
Yeah.
And the quest. So sometimes people think I'm on a quest for happiness, but joy is even deeper.
It is.
And that has to do with love and gratitude.
Yes.
That brings a person joy.
Yes.
In their heart. Does that make sense?
It does. I mean, I think there is a scale there, but that you don't necessarily. I think people search for happiness or work for happiness, but it just, like you say, it's a deeper level, and you can have just moments of it.
Right.
And that's I was sitting there and right where you are, being Bill. I was Bill's stunt double for 10 days or 8 days or whatever it was. And there was a moment, and I always felt this is one of the things I think that successful people, and especially successful women, this imposter syndrome that you're not somehow not good enough when you're whatever you're doing. And I was in
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. And but at one time on the last day that I was working, Rosie said that the people that she's connected with have really enjoyed me being in Bill's seat. And I felt it. My whole body felt that joy bubble up. And I know that I was probably grinning from ear to ear. And that was a moment because I had been feeling kind of inadequate. And then all of a sudden, I crossed the chasm from inadequate to feeling joy in just that split second of what Rosie said to me.
Wow, you're giving me the chills. And that means like you had to do it.
Yeah.
You couldn't, right? You could look from afar, but you would never attain that feeling if you didn't actually trust yourself and be guided into that place. And then with the Santa Cruz Voice and bringing joy, so you're part of this community. And does it bring some part of where you're connecting to not only just our Santa Cruz community, but the community at large? As I know we touch people all over the world. Is that part of what is motivating for you, like a connection to hear people's stories?
Totally.
Can you tell me more about what that feeling is like for you?
I get that every week. You get that sense of bringing people in and they're giving them an opportunity to tell their story about their business, about their nonprofit. And they always come in very nervous, that they have never done this before. Even our show last Friday, we were talking to a founder of this girls empowerment camp that's coming to Scotts Valley. It's called Athena Camps. And they were both so nervous at the beginning. And I'm sure you have that too, as people sit in this chair and they've never been on the radio before and they think it's going to be, and they're intimidated by it. So what I love is not only hearing their stories, but taking them through that journey of being nervous. And then by the end, and they can't figure out how can I talk for an hour, right? And how can it's impossible for me to have that much to say. And then you get to the end and they did it. And they're kind of beaming that they've accomplished something and that they've pushed their comfort level, so to speak. That they're able, they've stretched and succeeded. And so I get joy out of that every time.
That is really cool.
And I think one of the things with doing what you're doing, what I do, is, goes under that umbrella of you learn something new every day.
Totally.
And so being open to that and to hearing from other people. I had a week and a half ago, or 2 weeks ago almost, my guest was Terry Campion, who's one of the founders of the Boardroom, and hearing his story and hearing him talk about working with his wife, and Tam sitting there as my co-host. And I think we're both really, they've had, an incredible journey. They've never argued or fought. And it's like, how is that possible?
Wow. And for people that don't know, we're a big surf community and and a skate community. So the Boardroom is a very popular skate shop.
Yes.
With really cool apparel.
Yes.
Like all the cool Santa Cruz brand stuff is in there, and it's just like a cool space down in Pleasure Point.
Yes, and Tam,
I love that.
Tam was
Cool.
Sat there, and it brought him back to his childhood of having a skateboard, and now he wants to go to the Boardroom because they have almost like a museum there.
It's so amazing. Yeah.
Have you been there?
Oh yeah, because that's one of my favorite places to go in Santa Cruz.
Oh wow,
just up that area of town.
Yes, that area is great.
It's
That's
cool.
A very cool.
It used to be a little sketchy down there, but
yeah,
it's cleaned up.
I see. I hadn't been down there to
great.
know when it was sketchy, but they just he's transforming.
It's like a
lives.
landmark.
Yeah, and the work that he's doing, these young skaters. I mean, that's one of the things that he wanted in his life, was to be able to transform other people's lives. So he's not just a business person, and so many of our small business people are really, changing our community, and that's, being associated with that and being able to tell their stories is just beyond magical, really.
It is. I'm 100% in agreement, and that's what makes me excited.
Yeah.
Is hearing about what people's journeys are, and also being a community organizer. In the past, I've done lots of community events, and I think something that I'm picking up from what you're saying, Susan, is purpose. And
you just gave me chills. Seriously,
right?
I've been having those discussions really with my husband, and talking about kind of the next chapter, I guess, in my life. And that purpose was the word that came. Is how do I find joy, and then what is my purpose in this next chapter? So I'm kind of in transition.
Yeah, how do we find that? How do we get have that percolate? Because you've been on a path of this and this, and doing all these really cool things, and giving and putting your energy out. And do you ever experience burnout? And I know I asked like 20 questions all in one, but one, burnout. Does that occur in a community organizer's life?
Oh, I think it does. Where you definitely, you get to different points where you are, doing some self-evaluation, and you're feeling it. I'm feeling burnt out right now.
Yeah, tell me about that. What happened? Did you overgive, Susan?
I did overgive.
What?
I'm overgiving, and so
okay.
I'm in the process of really evaluating. What I want to do is to provide value, and in whatever I do, and I want to, be valued for what I provided. And so really stepping back and looking at all the things, all the pieces of the puzzle of my life, and the things that I'm doing in the community, and where am I not providing value? Where am I not feeling valued? And I think that that's important as you look at all aspects of your life, but definitely your job and your, what you're doing as a business is like, because that's what's going to provide satisfaction, is feeling valued in your job, or valued. I mean, there's three things. I interviewed about 40 some people over the Christmas holidays related to Santa Cruz Gives. You were one of the hosts. You interviewed some people.
I
And
did.
we helped them go from their goal was $1.7 million, and they ended up at 2.1 or something
Wow.
like that.
That's incredible.
And I'm not saying that we were the ones that pushed them there, but we were part. We were part of this whole, community effort to
Yes.
support these many 72 nonprofit organizations, and I talked to about 40 some of them. And in that,
I only talked to 3, so clearly I got to step up my game here.
well, it was, I kind of put my time and Tam's time and then Santa Cruz Voices possibilities and opportunities on the line for it. And, that'll brought me a lot of joy. But in the process, you meet all these other people because their work is, is a nonprofit organization. And in a number of the cases, they are completely dependent on volunteers.
Sure.
And so one of the, or a couple of the people that I talked to talked about 3 things that organizations like these organizations I interviewed is that people can give treasure, where you can just write a check. I don't have those means to just write checks to everybody I care about. You can give your time and you can give your talent. So treasure, time, talent, the 3 T's that
I like that.
Are possible. And so giving my time, giving my talent is part of the value that I can give to an organization. And all I ask in return is that I be valued back.
Right.
For that effort. And sometimes you become involved in an organization and you realize sometime during that path that you're not achieving what you wanted. And sometimes the organization changes around you.
Indeed, because I was asking you before if you ever experienced burnout with all your big history of being a giver.
Yeah.
And a receiver too, and how to check that, how to create that balance of knowing where, and I guess what you're doing is what you're sharing with me, because I'm learning from you, Susan, is you have to reflect and you have to evaluate.
Constantly.
So you're checking and balancing your own self and your organization. Is this giving me purpose, value? Am I being valued?
Right.
Because it's a two-way street. You can't just give, because then what is that, a martyr syndrome? Or
I don't know what it's called.
But it's a something that's going to create
something.
That's not going to make you feel like a happy person, right?
Yeah. And I think that people like me, and I'm not that unique really.
Right.
No,
you are. I know you are.
No, I think our community, there's so much need in our community for giving, and not, and again, for me, it's giving of time and talent, but you can overgive of your time, and that's what leads to the burnout. And so it's really important to constantly check in with yourself.
Right.
Are you really getting the joy that you should be getting in giving your time and talent? And if you're not, hey, you may need to recalibrate and change the direction that you're going in, and maybe shed. I'm in the shedding process, I think. And part of it is age. You go through and you look at all the stuff that you've accumulated over years, and you need to start to downsize it a little bit. And that's kind of what I'm going through. I'm downsizing, but I'm not going to give up, because I know community projects that I do are not only important to me, but they're important to the community.
Absolutely. And listen, we have so many more things to talk about. I'm going to take a quick commercial break, but when I come back, I do want to dive a little bit deeper into where people can participate in their very own communities so they can foster their own joy and passion. So hang on tight, everybody. This is Jill Trotterman with Feeding the Family, and I'm joined by the fabulous Susan Fraser. I want to say it like the Scottish, the Fraser. We'll be right back, folks. Okay.
Cannabis products, but information to those who want to know how to use cannabis for maximum benefit. Hello, I'm Jenna. If you would like to know how best to use cannabis, ask your friends and neighbors at Treehouse Dispensary, 3651 SoCal Drive. If you're 21 plus with a valid ID, No appointment is necessary and the information is free. Order online at ourtreehouse.io and pick up at our drive-thru. See you soon.
The IRS is knocking on the door because you owe back taxes. Don't panic. Call the tax doctor for free help getting out of IRS collections and back into the good graces of Uncle Sam. The tax doctor service is free, and all you need to do is call 800-817-2871. That's 800-817-2871. Get free help. Call 800-817-2871.
Hi, folks. Warren Knox here of Knox Roofing. I thought I'd share a few statistics with you. Do you know how long a frog can hold its breath? It averages around 4 minutes. What's the pH content of soil supposed to be? It's 6.5. When you look at a bag of fertilizer, it has 3 numbers on it. What's the first number represent? That would be nitrogen. Do you know how many nails the average roof requires? 7,000. How many gallons of water does it take to wash your clothes in a year? Around 2,000 gallons. A pound of wood has how many BTUs in it? That would be 8,600. What's the percentage of roofing companies in the United States that will be out of business after they've installed a roof? Believe it or not, it's 80%. Here at Knox Roofing, we're still going strong, exceeding 15,000 homes now. Okay. Give us a call here at Knox Roofing at 461-0634. Thanks, folks.
Oh, right. And thank you, folks. I just wanted to thank everybody out there who's listening to my show on Feeding the Family on Santa Cruz Voice, and to all of our listeners on Santa Cruz Voice. Today, we're talking about community. And this is the goal, I do believe, of Santa Cruz Voice, is to share our community here in Santa Cruz and to check in with the world at large. And I think we're being called on that more than ever before as a species, a society, to really get clear on what our human mission is, what our human purpose is. We're all striving for happiness and joy, and a lot of people are just not happy out there. I'm a human. Susan's a human. I'm sure we all dip into some places that are not happy all the time. We're not supposed to be happy all the time. But scientists have been studying joy and happiness and what does make people happy. So the Harvard Adult Developmental Health Study, which has tracked the lives of thousands of people for over 80 years, says their research says that happiness is connected not to wealth, not to achievements, not found in jewels, material goods, or other career success. Well, so, oops, maybe I don't know if that was a Freudian slip, but we'll keep that one in there as a positive. But connection and relationships. It's all about relationships.
It is.
It really, really is. I'm really getting that at my age, because we're sometimes being driven like, oh, I have to do X, Y, and Z and make a certain amount of money, and where does that get us, really, when at the end of the day, I think it's that human connection to each other. Like Susan and I get to look into each other's eyes right now, and we're having this purpose, and that really feels meaningful to me. So listeners, are you resonating with that? Are you resonating with finding your purpose, finding your joy in our community? So what are some ways that our folks out there can get involved in community? Okay, maybe they don't want to organize an entire a protest or a parade or a conference, but what are some moderate ways that even the youth, I keep thinking about the teens and I have what I call my daughters out there, my friends' kids that are girls, and I think they're struggling more. And how can they put down their phones and find more meaning in their lives to raise that joy ceiling? Do you have any ideas?
I do. I want to go back to what you said about that joy in my world is never about money, mm-hmm. And I think, and when I look at what people have accomplished, I don't, I'm not resentful for people that have made money. It's not like, oh, we got to, they were successful financially, but that's not how I measure success. And I do measure success more by what you've given to the world around you. So that's my 2 cents into that Harvard study. I agree.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you for sharing.
And, so yes, I probably could have had money be a focus of my life, and maybe I would have been more financially successful if I'd done that. But I don't think I would have been as happy or joyful if I'd done that. In our lives, Tam and I had the opportunity to go to LA and work on a comedy writing team for, I think, Paramount Television. And it's like, well, that's success. But it also meant moving to Los Angeles, leaving Santa Cruz or Scotts Valley for that, raising our children in that particular environment, and we made a quality of life choice to stay here. And as a result, we probably, I'm sure, would have been more financially successful than we are today. There was a time in the 90s where I was offered a big job in Silicon Valley, and I turned it down. I said, you can't afford me. And technically he could have afforded me. He could have made me a job offer and then stock options, and I would have made a lot of more money than we did. But I chose to continue in my business because through my business, I have more of an opportunity to impact the community than I would have had in this high-paid Silicon Valley job. So what can people do? I think one of the things that you could do is to go to SantaCruzGives.org. Even though they're no longer taking donations, you can see all the nonprofits there categorized by subject. So you can sit there and say, where's my passion? Am I into dogs and cats, and should I volunteer for the SPCA or the Santa Cruz Animal Control Foundation that is looking for volunteers? So that's one way. And one of the things that Santa Cruz Gives did was that they worked with the Volunteer Center of Santa Cruz County. And that is a great resource. In fact, Leslie Lee is going to be on my show on Friday and and she's been on our show before, talking about what their organization does in terms of providing volunteers to all of the different nonprofits in this county. So that would be a great resource. If you're a senior, Gray Bears.
Love Gray Bears.
Yes, that's
biggest fan.
Another great way, and part of their mission is not only the recycling that, we went down the other day and dropped off some electronic equipment, so they're doing that, keeping things out of landfills.
So volunteering, so anyone can do their time, their talent, and their treasure. So if you're cash flush and you want to write a check and that's your easy way, give.
Yes.
Right? So that's a way for people can bring up their joy, is by giving literally of themselves. Yes. And that takes you out of your head.
Yes.
And your lack mentality.
And it opens.
I'm talking to myself. I'm not preaching here. I'm just saying, I'm reminding myself.
It opens up your mind to things that you might not have thought of before.
Right.
In the 90s, there was an organization called the Mexican Heritage Corporation, and they were building a cultural center in East San Jose to bring, all kinds of music and dance and other and art into an area of San Jose that is considered, probably maybe still considered, a little sketchy, like you were talking about Pleasure Point at one time, and I was the only non-Mexican on the board. And you talk about, getting out of your comfort zone. That is part of, I think, finding joy, is that you get out of your comfort zone, you try something that you maybe never would have tried, and that brought me joy to raise the money, raise awareness, help them be able to build this beautiful facility in East San Jose. I'd come into the meetings, and even after 7 years of Spanish that I had, I still couldn't. I insisted that they have to talk to me in English because I want to be part of it. And that's what my role was how do we bring the Mexican and Hispanic culture to the non-Mexican people within San Jose.
Absolutely.
So that was kind of my role, vantage point in this was to be the the person that could bridge that gap.
Wow.
And
that's of service,
Yeah.
right? Because the researchers say that there's two types of community keys to happiness. So there's the purpose-driven communities, and then there's identity-driven. So the identity-driven would be like, I'm a woman, so I want to be hanging out with other women. But then the purpose-driven would be like, I want to hang out and help homeless women.
Right.
Or something more purposeful. So I thought that was interesting. So they're saying, like, if you're truly searching for happiness, there's another kind of community that might resonate more deeply with you. Communities of intentional purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that. And they're not defined by who you are, but what drives you. Because I think that's what you're really talking about. If you're into pets, you're into this.
Right.
And to get really clear on that. Not, I'm into money.
Right. And all of this is
Right?
related.
Or I'm into, like, fuller lips or something.
I could probably use
just-
that.
I'm kidding. Everyone, okay, you guys know I'm a joker, so I'm just teasing out there, I swear. But so that we want to unite, because I have like a motto called, creating the world you want to live in.
Right.
And sometimes you have to get off your couch and go do something, because we all want Susan to plan and organize everything, but we need everyone.
And there is that. There's early on find out that not everybody is as purpose driven as you are. So you could be on a committee and you kind of have some slackers maybe that are part of that community, and and it's in some ways like running my business, is that you try to find ways that those slackers can also, fill their own buckets, find their own purpose.
Sure.
And it may mean that you have to kind of switch things around because you recognize somebody's not motivated by the job that they started with you. And it's like, is there a place in your organization for this person? And sometimes the answer is no.
Right. And, we're talking about bringing joy and happiness to a person's life. And sometimes maybe it's not going to be in that hardcore service thing, but some other things that can bring value and purpose to your life. Just participating in local activities.
That is true.
Just go hang out, go dancing. Like there's salsa at the wharf on Sunday.
Is there?
Yeah. Like on any given day here in Santa Cruz County, we've got a million things going on.
That is true.
So this is just a reminder. And then let's see.
And I think that, and then you can look at some of these events. Maybe, I talked to two people at Kaiser where I was in for some kind of an appointment, and they saw my Art, Wine, and Beer Festival shirt on. And they go, oh, I want to be involved in that. And I said, well, that's great, because they need over 100 volunteers to pull off that event. There's a core organizing committee. Each one of them has their own responsibilities, but every one of those groups needs volunteers.
Nice.
So if you enjoy going, next year maybe you can be one of the volunteers that helps pull it off. And, when you enjoyed going, that brought joy to you, right?
Right.
And now you can be part of not only giving others in your community joy, but helping to organize that and then fill your own bucket, like
right.
they said.
I love that. And I just want to shout out to my parents also, because they are really big time into community support, planning events, going to events. So thank you to my parents for inspiring me.
Yes.
Because that's a motivator for me.
And I think for us, too, as a business, one of the things over the years that we've done is that we've done a lot of work for nonprofits and given either pro bono videos or reduced prices. Everything that we do for nonprofits, we have a nonprofit discount, and so we're, looking at Valley Churches, for example, a great organization in the San Lorenzo Valley, helping them redesign their website, because it's definitely could use a little refresh, and then we can do the work and make it affordable for them.
Nice. See, it's so good. There's so many things. So other ways, I'll just ramble off and join in, Susan. Going to music events can bring up happiness and joy. You're participating in community, because they really are talking about relationship building.
Like you said, connection.
Yeah, because I know we're all on the phones all day, and it's overstimulating our dopamine receptors. And so we're constantly looking for dopamine, get that hit on the computer all the time. And it's really rewiring our brains. And so it's important to put down the phone and go do these fun things like share a meal, have people over for
Right,
dinners,
right.
potlucks. I mean, that's a winner. You can't ever,
There were so
winner
many
chicken dinner.
and there were so many opportunities for that during COVID.
Yes.
Of ways that you could help your community or just your neighborhood.
Reconnect.
I would go, I would go to Costco and I would ask my neighbors, do you need anything? I'm going down there. And some of them, all of us were a little afraid of being out in the public, especially during the early times. Can I do that?
Nice.
So that all of us don't end up at Costco. It's just one of us.
Right.
So it's.
You're a big, broad thinker. The way your brain works, that's so neat to hear you.
And one of the things I needed to do was I needed to turn off cable news.
Oh yeah,
because
right. That'll take you right down the.
It would, and sometimes social media does
joy
that.
zapper.
Yes, and I'm connected to people on social media that can easily bring me down. So I try to,
I think that's the point, honestly.
Yeah,
that's why we have to have this conversation about how to bring up our joy.
Yes,
right.
Yes, definitely. Go ahead.
Okay, no, this is great. So I was just saying, sharing meals, and then sporting activities, athletics. I mean, I know these are all common things, but it's just a simple reminder. And then what you mentioned, helping your neighbor. There's some people that go around helping the elders mow their lawns and painting and this, that, and the other. Really just simple things, honestly.
And there's so many opportunities for that. There's an organization, again, in the San Lorenzo Valley called Damien's Ladder. And what they do is
Yes, this is what I was thinking of.
Yeah, they have, if you have talent in, being a handyman or being you're a carpenter or a contractor and now you're retired, what do you do? Damien's Ladder will put you to work on projects that will help your neighbors, be able to build a ramp. Maybe you can no longer, walk downstairs or put railing on those stairs. That's part of what Damien's Ladder would do for you. So there are so many organizations out there with needs, and I couldn't build railings. I was talking to Joanne, who's one of the owners of Bruno's, just a couple of hours ago. And, she was building some stuff and I'm thinking, that's not me.
Right.
I would be the one that was looking for a resource from Damien's Ladder versus being able to be one of those handyman and help other people. But I can help in other ways. So
you do, and you're a great marketer, right? Isn't that a secret talent of yours? Marketing and inspiring people with their businesses and helping others shine their light. Maybe you have that wisdom. You could see where people can bring, where maybe they're not seeing what their potential is.
Well,
is
and
that
I think,
right?
Yeah, and I think that for us, one of the things that we do is we talk about making our clients look good.
Okay.
So you look at, someone that's the marketing communications person at a company. If I can help them, if I can make them look good, they're going to go and get new promoted or whatever. So that's there. I'm not going to say criticized, but it was a concept that was hard for people to understand, that by making our clients look good, and rather than us being the stars of our own show that we're doing, is to, I've accomplished a lot if I can do that. And again, filling my bucket by filling someone else's bucket. And I've seen it. I've seen people rise through their organization as a result of the work that we did, or part of why they were able to succeed. And I get a lot of joy from that. Hopefully they won't forget about me. They'll remember me when they're big time.
Well, yeah, because you talked about being valued too. So you don't want to be, stepped upon and just left off, right?
No.
So there's that part that you do want to have some recognition for the work that you're giving and stuff, right?
Right. And I've definitely felt that of feeling like, I'm providing value and that I'm valued back. But I've also experienced the other thing where you provide value and it's not valued.
Oh, yeah.
And that's when you like we talked about, you need to step back and reassess, is this particular, commitment of my time and talent really worth it? Is it doing that? Is it providing that joy to me? And if not, you need to shed it, or you need to at least see, can I redirect it so that I am getting joy? And if not, you might need to shed it from your life.
Wow, that sounds like you're kind of talking about some personal relationships too. Like in your
Yes. Okay, it's like we're having a therapy session here, Jill.
It sounds like a therapy session. So if you're in any kind of relationship that's not bringing you joy, have an evaluation of that, right?
Right.
So there was a study, because here's another study. It's called The Complexities of Joy, a qualitative study of joy cultivation, loss of joy, and happiness in British adults. So this study talked about how joy is cultivated, lost, and related to the broader aspects of well-being. And in this study, they talked about joy was perceived as a distinct, profound emotion, often, like I mentioned before, intertwined with gratitude and love. And that barriers to joy included negative relationships, societal pressures, and emotional burdens. Where the opposite is of fostering positive relationships, engaging with nature, cultivating self-awareness, like what you're talking about. You're like an embodiment of this, really, Susan, of cultivating self-awareness. Those were identified as the key strategies for sustaining joy. So getting rid of those negative relationships that don't foster anymore, having critical self-awareness. And also one thing I thought was really cool, that in joy, guess what? There's an enduring value of joyful memories.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
I mean, and you sit there, and I still remember the relationships and the connections I made during that Families Belong Together March.
Wow.
And that is, it's now, what are we talking about? Almost 10 years since that.
Yeah.
But it's part of my memory book, so to speak.
Right.
Not that I have physical pictures. I probably do have physical pictures of it, but it's just, I can, in my memory, think back that's one of the most joyful times, that I brought it to on a topic that was really tough, because families were being torn apart and children being ripped from their parents. So it was really a kind of a negative thing that we were combating, but we as a group made a difference. We brought awareness to that, and that is what I got joy out of. And the people, this amazing groups of women that didn't know each other for the most part prior to coming together for this event that we helped create. And to be, you read it in the news, you see it, you just, and then you're part of it. And it's just, I don't even know how to describe it. I'm getting kind of emotional just thinking about it.
Yeah, it's very powerful, because the memories, they do live within us.
Yes.
And so, gosh, that seems like a life well lived if you can really reflect back on your days and say, wow, I've done this, I've done that. And like, again, it's on a measurement of your material wealth. Great if you have, like, that's great for everyone. Yes. But this is like even higher elevation of, like on a spiritual level.
Exactly.
Seriously.
I think that back, it was interesting in 2014, we had an opportunity that was the Dalai Lama was coming to Santa Cruz, or to Santa Clara at Santa Clara University, and we got an opportunity to capture it and create all these videos. However, Tam and I were committed to some other project during that time, but still being associated with that, reading the transcripts of the Dalai Lama's talk, it changed my life. It really did. It really refocused my energy in 2014, so that after that, I became a lot more involved in the community, a lot more aware of what was happening to me, and a lot more, settled or in what was important in my life. And, I can look back on that particular thing of the Dalai Lama coming to Santa Clara University as a point where my life pivoted, and now I'm kind of in that same spot. I'm in the, so 11 years later, or 12 years later, I'm about to pivot my, where I'm going. And I think that's important, is to have continual, self-awareness of what's important to you.
Absolutely,
And
yes.
are you putting your energy into the things? My husband's always really good at saying, Susan, let's look at this, and is this the place that you should put your energy? And he sometimes pulls me back, so that I can look at me.
That's good, because if you have so much excitement and energy for so many different things, it's focus is an important part of really manifesting what your goals are.
And
so
like
it's
you
not
say,
diffused.
And like you say, change. Getting rid of the negative people in your life or the negative experiences that you have in your life. It's hard, but it's important.
I'd say.
Yeah.
So what do you think is coming? Should I get my tarot cards out, or how are you going to?
If you have them, maybe.
I do. We'll have to do that off the air.
Yeah.
But seriously, what's percolating? Do you have anything that you want to share online? And we only have a few more minutes. So
I know.
And I want people to know where to find you.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to connect with me, you can go to tamcom.com, and there's a button there to contact us, and it'll end up in my inbox somehow. Okay.
And Susan, because I want you to share the last thing about what you're going to percolate on. What's your radio show? You're broadcasting, I think, noon on Fridays. Is that correct?
12 to 2 on Fridays.
Nice.
Think Local First. And, it's really highlighting the great people in this community and the things that they're doing, whether they're a small business, or whether they're a nonprofit. We want to highlight them and help them be successful. So that's one of the great things about Think Local First, is that they're really, they're focused on the community and how to, support each other in any way possible. And so being on the board there has been another way for me to give back. That's in part, I was president, and now I'm treasurer, and we'll see what the future is there.
Yeah, that's Think Local. And you're also the treasurer here of Santa Cruz Voice?
I'm not the treasurer. I'm on the steering committee, helping to figure out what the future is.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And there's so many great voices here on Santa Cruz Voice. You're one of them, Jill.
Thanks, Susan.
Yeah, I
appreciate that.
Hope that people continue to tune in and, experience different people, different podcasters or broadcasters and podcasters. And, because we have podcasts, you have an opportunity maybe not to listen live, but you can still listen. And
yeah. And thanks for reminding me to say that, my show and Susan's show. What's the name of your show?
Well, it's Think Local First. I also have
Think Local First, of course.
And I also have Eat, Drink, and Be Local.
Okay, great. So you check out that. It's on SantaCruzVoice.com, which is what we're streaming live from. And then my little plug is I am Jill Trotterman, holistic nutritionist, counselor, teacher, speaker, podcaster, which I honestly have to say, this really brings me joy.
Good.
I love doing this. I love meeting people in the community and hearing their stories. And if I can up-level them so they can continue to do this really beautiful work in the world, wow.
Or if you could just make them healthier.
100%.
And help kids learn how to be healthy, eat better.
Yes, that is my goal. Because when I help parents and they like, oh my gosh, thank you so much, Jill, and the kids get benefit, that is where my joy comes in. So I'm resonating right with you, being on purpose and getting to do this really blessed work. So Thank you for coming on my show, Susan.
No, thank you for having me.
You are welcome. So I'm going to be signing out. Again, this is Jill Trotterman, Feeding the Family. My website, SantaCruzHolisticNutrition.com. SantaCruzHolisticNutrition.com. And peace out, everybody. Have a beautiful day and find your purpose and your joy.
Yes,
All
definitely.
Right.